Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Community at the Practitioners Table with Jesse and Kim. We're happy to have you here. Today's episode is about Sutra 1.1, the first sutra in the whole book. We want to say first and foremost, we are not doing a sutra course. This is not a class. The sutras are one of the pieces of yoga that get left out, are misinterpreted or misconstrued in many Western yoga classes. And because we want to bring these pieces into the space, we want to share them with you and you share with us your experiences of them. We thought it was really important to start with this sutra. Right? I think, I don't know, it's just really important. And yeah, we're super stoked to share that with you.
What is Sutra?
Sutra, we went over this last episode.
Yeah, if you didn't join us from last episode, why would we even mention the word sutra, and why is it even applicable to this conversation?
That's a great question. Let me turn on my memory bank because we definitely broke down what a sutra was. Because the first thing I said was verse, but it's a seed. I think that's one of the root words of sutra is like seed and intertwining or weaving. So we're weaving in these like one-liners, one-line verses, like one-liner wisdoms into our practice and into, I think they're really meant to be taken off the mat as well. So that's what I got.
Yeah, so the sutra is Su and Tra. So the Sanskrit language is not the most common Hindi language, but it's one of the more ancient languages. And again, like Jesse was saying, we're not here to teach sutra. We are having an open conversation. This is a potluck. This is an opportunity to, bring your questions to us as well. But we thought we would open in the beginning of our podcast experience together with a little bit of, what we'd like to bring to the table. And we definitely want to start with the first line in this yogic text. So let me just share again something that we talked about last week. The Hindu spiritualism, philosophy, religion, just like colonialistic versions or tribal ways of experiencing their existence in this earth. The Indian tradition has many philosophical transcripts. And this one, the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, is the sutra, one of the books. It's a 4-chapter book that was essentially downloaded to Patanjali, a wise sage, half man, half symbolic representation snake. It is 200 and something lines. I'm not sure how many right now off the top of my head, but it's 4 chapters, and they're these one-line gems that link together. So Su and Tra is to link together in order to transcend. And so the writings allow us to philosophically understand why we go to the mat. There's a scientific edge to yoga, and then there's this topical sort of personality and physical aspect to yoga as well. But Jesse definitely was wanting to start with Sutra 1.1, and I'm all for it because I love a good buffet. And I find, and most of my teachers that have taught me, one sutra is all of the sutra. So you can spend your lifetime talking about just one line and illuminating it and adding your own authenticity into it as you understand what it means. And so as we get into what it is, you'll really understand why it's so important that we started with the very first line, which is basically a welcoming into the power of now. So again, to repeat, sutras linked together in order to transcend. And what we're trying to do here is break down the misconceptions of what that means or what it doesn't mean to you, and how we can incorporate, it's called the Tristana, 3 aspects of the pillars of yoga. And one of those can be the philosophy, which adds the intellectual component and allows you to understand on a spiritual, somato-emotional level how to get more from your practice, or unravel more, or have the practice reveal more to you. Because yoga is really an inside job, and it's a personal path to self-realization. And we all can relate to this one, that we're all very individualistic, you know, and we're also in the human body. So being in a human body, we can talk about Sutra 1.1 and then see how that is applicable in our personal lives and how we can bring it into the forefront of our practice.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you, Ms. Kim. That was brilliant. I appreciate you. Yes, this episode will be diving into the sutra itself, and we'll carry this over to the next episode and do that, just how this sutra, I want to say, works for us, but you know, because it kind of is a thing, but how we embody or interpret this sutra, how it shows up in our lives on and off the mat. And then we'll delve into more specifically how we share this sutra with our fellow practitioners that we meet on the mat when we teach. It's a curiosity of mine. So anyways, let's get to it. Ms. Kim, we're going to start this episode with saying the sutra first. We're going to start chanting it next episode, but we want to say it. And Ms. Kim, do you want to share a little bit about saying it or chanting it? What
Yeah,
can
you pull it up on the screen. Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to backtrack a little bit to what you said, because I'm always going to be catching you in your casual conversation. It's absolutely okay to put your angle on what it means to you, right? It's really important that we feel comfortable here to express our truth, the truth, what we're feeling, you know, from a neutral place, because in the end, the goal of all this body moving and flexing is to be able to sit in meditation. I don't know about you, but that's the last thing I'm going to do when I step on the mat before I practice. So we do a lot of moving and bending and twisting, but essentially all this stuff is made to break us down so we can just sit and just be. And that's a whole nother podcast, right? Or a whole nother, rabbit hole to go down. So yeah, if you want to call it whatever you call it, it's just important that we feel comfortable enough to share what we're feeling and the nuances of how we see things, so we can, just clear off the lenses even more and continue to expand rather than contract.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you go ahead and share the screen, and then I'll just share a little bit of the procedure, the rules, procedure. It's a sound. Sutra is meant to be chanted, and it's meant to be taken in through the ear, and it's meant to be experienced rather than intellectually memorized and compartmentalized. The idea is that this one line statement has sound syllables in them. And just like singing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or a, e, I, o, u, or any type of singing, if you do sing, or in touch with that type of depth of breath work, you know that you pull from different aspects of the central channel as you sing, or chant or speak or, breathe. So this type of stuff is meant to be done all in one breath, because what we're trying to do is tonify the cardiovascular system with our breath. So this is another way to get in touch with the breath. It's a form of pranayama. Additionally, I think I lost my train of thought on that one. It's done in one breath. It's meant to be a way for you to understand how to retain. It's called breath retention. And as we sing these syllables, you'll notice where you're pulling the energy from, or the capacity to make the sound. I think maybe, Jesse, in the future, we can break down the sound Om and really share that with the community on how much more subtle that sound can be, and where we pull in order to make the sound AUM, which comes out as Om. So that's a side note, but that's what we're doing here. We're trying to make sound. We're trying to control how we interact with our breath. We are also taking this philosophical text and taking it in, and also saying it out loud, making a relationship with it, right? It's one thing to listen to people talk, but when you begin to regurgitate the information, you seem to embody it more. And so we wanted to share this with you, because this is essentially the doorway. It's a welcoming mat for the deeper aspects of yoga, and how it can shine light on the parts of us we can't see, or the things that we're trying to discover, but we don't know how to get there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah. So what do we got on the screen?
We have Hatha Yoga Nushasana. This is Sutra 1.1, and just a brief, like our first bullet point, the power of now. But I think let's just say it. Let's break it down. Let's say it. I would love to follow your lead on this, like call and response, saying it, and then we can say it together, and then let's get into it.
Sure.
Awesome.
So I think in the Western world, it's just really important to say it, you know, and then we can talk about where we're going to extend our breath, or try to drag the breath through the Ujjayi sound, you know, really incorporating in more of the back of the throat. But it's simple. It's just ah, ta,
Ta,
yoga.
yoga.
Let's go. Yoga. Anu.
Yoga anu.
Sha.
Sha.
Sanam.
Sanam.
Because when you say it and when you chant it, just because, you know, life is that exciting, there's going to be some nuances and changes. And just for all of the listeners and all of the people out there that are further along on their yoga trails, or whatever sort of feelings you might be having, I'm going to tell you what my teachers told me. None of this I've made up. I'm not over here pontificating about what I've created in this life. Most of what I've learned and sharing on these podcasts are direct transmissions from other teachers that I've studied with. And that's called parampara, and it's the teacher-student relationship. So I'm not over here creating anything new. I lean back, actually, and I sit back with the community of practitioners and all of those wiser ones that have come before me. And I just let them guide me, and let the yogic text show me the way. And then, as we all know, along our own road, we tend to, you know, add our own authenticity into it, or begin to expand based on who we are. And that's the gift of yoga. That's what it's here for. It's that individualized path to self-realization. And as we grow, the world grows. I think we said it last time, like a rising tide lifts all ships, right? We are the ones we're waiting for. So let this pierce you like a shastra, like a deep teaching, and be the one that you've been waiting for, right? Or we've all been waiting for. We are the answers, and they come from within. So when we say it, you can say Hatha Yoga Anushasanam. And you'll see that when I get to yoga, and then I use the A again, Anu. So saying it and singing it or chanting it are very nuanced, or a little bit different. Just, I want to make that point, because there will be people, you know, along the way that'll want to call out that. But there is a little bit of nuance or shift in the way you say something and reading it. So it looks like you would say Hatha Yoga Nu, and you do Yoga Nu Shasanam. So there's a little bit of blending there.
Totally.
Make sense?
Perfect. Yep. Let's say it one more time. Let's say it one more time.
Okay, so we're gonna take it together, yes?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we're just no exhale. We're just gonna say it together, okay? So exhale here to prepare,
Mm-hmm.
and then just a gentle, normal inhale, and we'll begin. Atha Yoga Nushasanam. Again. Atha Yoga Nushasanam. One more time.
Yeah.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Atha Yoga Shasanam.
Good. Atha
I
Yoga
love that.
Nushasanam. Yeah. Atha Yoga
Yay.
Nushasanam. Welcome.
Yes, here we are.
Welcome.
Beautiful. Alrighty. So I'm just gonna open up a few of my texts here. I'm looking for something specific. Give me a moment.
I'm going to go ahead and write the word welcome on here,
Awesome.
because what we're trying to do in this series is allow adjectives and other words to be descriptors of the experience. So, you know, we all have a filter inside. So we're all going to, some people will see it exactly the same, and some people will find a word that's just a touch different that makes them connect in. And so we want to welcome that in our potluck here. And maybe you want to upload at the end of the podcast, like what your word or adjective that you would add to this one line statement of like welcoming you into yoga, because basically what it says is now the teaching, teaching of yoga begins. Okay, that's what it says.
Yeah.
That's the essence of what that line says. It says, welcome. Now the teaching of yoga begins.
Yep.
What does that mean, right? And so here we are sharing what we think we know and what we know and what we'd like to know more of.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, right. If I may just read like a couple of translations as well.
Absolutely.
Right? So we have from the Yogi's Roadmap by Bhavani Maki, Sutra 1.1. This translation is, at last, we have finally arrived at this most auspicious moment. Verily, it has taken our entire lifetime to come to this point where we accept the invitation to follow along with the process of yoga and to smooth out the rough edges of the personality. This awakens a deep feeling of love and respect for those who have walked the path before us and shed the light that we might follow. Like, that's really juicy. That's really juicy. And I like, auspicious moment guests now and an invitation, right? And it's up to us to take the invitation in this moment to be open for the teachings of yoga, right?
What does it mean to you, the invitation? Like when you step on the mat, what do you think about?
I think about, like, what is that invitation for me?
What is the invitation inviting you into? What does it mean for you? Like maybe I should
Myself, to
there you go.
discover, to peel back those juicy layers, or even just be with my body. I mean, it all gives me information, but yeah, to discover myself. That is my invitation.
Oh my God. Discover
The
body.
typing.
Yeah, for me, when I think about Hatha Yoga Nushasanam, the power of now, this welcoming about the teachings of yoga begins. I just think of slowing way down and being in the present moment. So the power of now. Yeah. So as I follow, which we'll discuss further in the podcast, but as I follow the method, the original method of yoga that's unfiltered or unshifted by the different countries, cultures, or the way we are in different eras, because yoga has been around a long time and we've taken it and shifted it. But for me, it just really allows me to stop moving in a linear way and to be. And then that beingness, right? This discovery allows me to expand dimensionally rather than contract and shrink linearly. So for me, it's an ability to stop and be in the present moment and take the breath and take the eye gaze and slow down. And when that happens, for me, the field shifts and I'm no longer fully stuck to, connected, linked into this like system that we're living under in this era. I'm allowed to like lean back and let the expansiveness of the moment and the earth and the universe kind of come into play so that I can remember who I am, what I'm doing here, because I am not this apartment complex I live in. I am not my rent. I am not my job, right? The things that keep us alive. I'm not my adorable wedge sandals, although I love them. It allows me to lean back and invite myself into the inside. And when I do that, I'm allowed to hear and feel and link into a field of consciousness that's, you know, some would say very different than the field of consciousness we live in, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think my mind went to another place of being in the present moment. I think that also Bhavani's translation touches on is, again, this kind of respect, not just for ourselves and where we are at in the present moment, but for the lineage, for those who did come and create the path, walk the path before us. And also, I think personally, it invites me to be in the present moment with whoever is teaching me as well, because I think we all have had moments where we have preferences in our instructors who we want to take class from and all these things. And so when we're in a space with a teacher or an instructor that we don't know or haven't practiced with, we are asked to, through this sutra, to be in the present moment, to be open to the invitation of seeing where we kind of go like this when we're presented with maybe someone teaching us in a way that we aren't used to or don't, blah, 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 all these things. So I think, that's another invitation where we still get to discover ourselves and our body, but we're also being asked to the invitation of what is around us as well, what the experience is, who we're experiencing as well. So.
Yeah, isn't that the case, to be annoyed by the yoga teacher, to walk out of the class and start judging the situation? Yeah. And what a high teaching, and what an amazing yoga practice you could possibly have if you really took this sort of sutra, this idea, and come into the power of now. And as we move along in the podcast, for those who don't know, really incorporate the method of yoga. You can take anybody's class and walk out, expanded. Because I think that's part of the West, is like, oh, I don't want to do yoga because I don't like the teacher. And it's like, wow, you better get your butt in that classroom, because that's going to be the best teacher for you. The irony there. Yeah. I did highlight the little Anu, A-N-U. This is not a sutra class, but that little bit in there is the link to really being able to say that it's the present moment. So with each inhale, we have an opportunity to return to the present. And with each exhale, we have the opportunity to call us back into our body, because we leak energy through our mind, thinking, commercials, all of the things that the system put in front of our senses. And so the yoga allows us to peel back and just be one breath at a time. And we inhale, we came into this life. We don't know how many breaths we're going to take, but as we inhale and exhale in the continuum, can we create more consciousness in our lives? And so that's the power of this practice for us, right? Is giving us an opportunity to have a container in which we can go into every day and be like, okay, this is where I step in, I start to look around, I can discern what's mine and what isn't mine. It's an invitation for discovery.
Beautiful. Yes, definitely. I agree. And so, as you were talking about that, and noted that you highlighted it, there's a few definitions for just those three letters, Anu, and smallest increment, following with the teaching, step-by-step instruction, and discipline.
Oh my God, smallest increment and discipline, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the discipline is like, I don't want to go to the mat today. And you're like, oh, Anu, take a moment, take a breath. Maybe you want to rethink that, right? And that's where this sutra really allows you to walk in the door no matter how you feel.
Yes. Exactly.
Because every time you can avoid it for 5 minutes, but then 5 minutes later you could probably feel different and arrive on a mat in a place where you can be with yourself. So
exactly. Awesome. Well, let's do a little. We only have a few minutes left here.
okay.
Let's kind of do just a summarization, right? So we went over the Sutra 1.1, Atta Yoga Anushasanam. And just, the power of now. We are welcomed, we are invited to this moment of now, to discover ourself, to excavate who we are, our stuff, our personality complex, and also to discover the body. And that could look like anything, just the tensions we hold, the anxieties, where they lie, also the relaxations, how we, like you were saying, how we step into the room. It has to do with that inhale, like we're here, and that exhale, now we're in our body, these things. And then the discipline is even just the power of now. Like, to me personally, that's one of the biggest things I struggle with, is like coming to the mat. I do it, but it's not always easy, right?
Well, so this is a really high teaching. This sutra, we're starting off with a bang.
Yeah.
Because here's the real conversation, Jessie, right? Here it is. Because even with working with my clients, like you would be surprised at the percentage of people that don't, we're all avoiding something. And so just the act of stepping onto the mat, nobody said that you had to take a full yoga practice.
Yeah.
This sutra just says, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second passes, and the sutra is so compassionate and loving, it goes, welcome. And the moment passes, and we're all over there freaking out in our minds, fritty, oh shit, oh no, oh excuse me, all those things going on. And then the sutra still stands, and what's it saying?
Welcome.
And when we finally stop running or stop thinking linear, which is again, like we're all on this path. I'm on the path, you're on the path, we're all on it. We begin to expand dimensionally in time and space. And we realize the big black cloud of I don't want to get on the mat is way bigger. Is way smaller than what we think it looks like. Because once you take if you could have the faith to take one breath, you'll notice that it'll shift a little, and then you can take another breath. And I think in AA, I think that's why they take it one day at a time. Mm-hmm. So there's some parallels that we have in our culture that kind of mirror this sutra of welcoming in, and just like it's a feeling of like that's the relief we're looking for. We're not looking for more constriction. We're looking for ah, and then look at the sutra. Ta yoga anushasanam. So there's so much ability to see the two sides of the same coin in what we're discussing here. So I hope that whoever's listening to this podcast can really embrace understanding the nuances of how we think, and how the speed of our life can sometimes take us away from the opportunity of stopping and actually building out, right? And forward and back and up and down and dimensionally. So this is an invitation to even consider something different. And when you do, right, you really begin to realize what a blessing it is. So, fear not, actually, fear not, and practice, and all is coming. So
Beautiful. Thank you.
yeah.
I love that. On that note,
Questions? Do we have questions?
we don't have questions yet because our first episode actually drops this evening at 5 p.m. I think Pacific Standard Time, or GMT, whatever that means. I don't know.
Okay.
So we will release this one next week. Anyways, that's what I have. Next week will be Sutra 1.1 part 2. And we will delve into our own personal experiences as practitioners, practicers, and instructors on and off the mat. And then we'll chant it as well. We'll get into the chanting part of it. So I look forward to it. I really do.
I think one thing I want to do with my teacher hat on is to anyone who's interested, from what, some of you might know a lot more about this topic than others, and some of you might have never had this conversation before. But when you think of this first sutra and the invitation is open, the door is always open, if you have time, just put a word. What does the power of now do for you? What does it feel for you? What is a moment of saying, like, I'm going to stop. I'm going to take the invitation to discover myself, to discover my body, to discover the smallest little bit in the shift that we want for ourselves. This isn't for anybody else. It's for ourselves. So we really have to get honest, right? And then that little increment is like so much easier to take on. What is it for you that you want out of the power of now? How can you utilize this podcast? What word or adjective or descriptive feeling, what are you feeling? And then just leave it in the comment box for us, and we can do the same, like feel what you're feeling and build off of it.
Beautiful. Yep. Comments, or you can email at us at practitionerstable@gmail.com. Both
That's right.
works. Beautiful. All right, Miss Kim, let's close with an Om and 3 Shanti, shall we? Saying it together. Beautiful. All right.
You want to lead?
Sure. I would like just to take a breath and of gratitude for this time and space that we share, and that all you viewers or listeners share with us as well. Thank you. Thank you. Let's inhale together. And exhale. Inhale. Shanti. 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 Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.